вы хотите открыть детский учебный центр и зарабатывать от 1 миллиона рублей в месяц личного дохода, продолжая заниматься своими делами? Если нет, пропустите это видео, оно просто заберет ваше время. Меня зовут Павел Фролов, и я основатель компании «Работу». Мы обучаем детей от 6 до 15 лет самым востребованным навыкам – программированию, 3D-моделированию и схемотехнике. Чтобы в мире, где все делают роботы, дети могли найти свое место и получить хорошую, высокооплачиваемую работу. А хорошая работа в будущем будет у робототехников, IT-специалистов и у технологических предпринимателей. Сейчас у нас открыто более 130 школ робототехники в 20 странах мира. И это только начало. Это бизнес молодой ниши с готовым маркетингом и полным сопровождением. С нами каждый может открыть свой детский центр, и мы поможем вам в этом. Мы собрали лучшее из 3 стран. У Робо есть офис в России, где самые лучшие в мире программисты. Офис в Финляндии, где самые лучшие в мире образование. И офис в Японии, где самые лучшие инженеры в области робототехники. Вас ждет стабильный доход без сезонных спадов, потому что робоклуб проводит занятия как в онлайне, так и в офлайне. Мы работаем и во время учебного года, и на каникулах. Работаем, когда нет карантина и когда он объявлен. Таким образом, что бы ни случилось, с нами вы будете зарабатывать в 4 раза больше, чем на обычном детском центре. Когда вы станете нашим партнером, мы назначим вам стартап-менеджера из числа уже успешных партнеров, которые также открывали робоклуб по нашей франшизе. Мы берем на себя привлечение клиентов на старте, а это поможет вывести в прибыль ваш детский центр в самые короткие сроки. Наша команда профессионалов решит любой вопрос, с которым вы можете столкнуться. Выбор и планировка помещения, заключение договора аренды, покупка мебели и оборудования, подбор, аттестация, обучение ваших педагогов на нашей платформе, помощь с продвижением и рекламой, международный сайт, федеральная пиар-поддержка, а также настройка и ведение локальной, контекстной и таргетинговой рекламы с помощью специалистов по онлайн-маркетинговой крупной компании. Вы получите автоматизированную систему управления школой, CRM-систему, интегрированную с рекламными кабинетами, платежными сервисами и сайтом. А также вы получаете юридическую поддержку.
Welcome to today's talk, Tuesday the 28th of December. I hope you had an excellent Christmas time. Now, data's been rather sparse, to be fair, over the Christmas period, it has to be said. But basically what's happening is what we've been anticipating for some time now, for the last few weeks now really. Huge number of cases so far transcribing into relatively low numbers of hospitalisations. And we're going to be looking at the UK and the US to illustrate that today. I just want to start off with some fairly poignant data here from the United Kingdom. So 24th of December, Omicron patients in hospital, it was 366, 24th of December, just before the data sort of shut off for a few days. Omicron total deaths then amounted to 29 people who've been diagnosed with Omicron within 28 days of diagnosis. Data from yesterday, the 27th, Omicron hospital patients has gone up to 407. Now, this is in a context of, we'll look at the precise figure later, but about 8. Now, this is in a context of, we'll look at the precise figure later, but about 8,200 people in hospital. So those diagnosed with Omicron in hospital so far, 407. Yesterday, 24th of December, 4 days ago now, 366, so it's gone from 366 up to 407, and the deaths unfortunately have increased from 29 up to 39, but we don't know if these people had significant comorbidities or not. The number of officially diagnosed COVID Omicron cases are now up to 159,000 in the UK, an extra 45,000 on the day. But we do actually know, as I'm about to demonstrate here, that they're all Omicron now, essentially. So this is the graph for the UK as of yesterday. So the purple, of course, is the Omicron. The green is the Delta. And as we see now, the, what is that figure? 90%. So we're now 90% Omicron in the UK as of yesterday's data, which of course will be a day or so out of date. And the other thing that we do like to notice on this graph is that the length of that bar there, that is the number of cases of Delta. And we can definitely see that the numbers of cases of Delta are going down. That one is definitely smaller than that one, which is smaller than that one. So the number of cases of Delta are reducing as the number of Omicron cases increases. In other words, as we'd hoped, and basically as we'd expected actually, the Omicron is displacing the Delta. This is remarkably good news. This is what we'd hoped for. So another data point here is new confirmed cases per million people. So these are the new cases. Japan, we're doing an interview with a Japanese informed person shortly, so, because we really don't know what's going on, but Japan still essentially zero. Australia, as we've seen, increasing markedly. People are now travelling more between the states. I think Western Australia is pretty well shut off, but we're going to see a massive Omicron surge in Australia, as indeed we are. We've started to see it already. Canada, Omicron surge likewise. United States, clear Omicron surge in the United States. And the United Kingdom and Ireland. This deflection in the data here is due to Christmas not reporting. It's not a genuine thing. So United Kingdom and Ireland leading the way in terms of new cases per million people. But when we look at the number of people in hospital, Canada again faulting the data there. Ireland up slightly. The United Kingdom, no two ways about it, it is up slightly. It's up somewhat, but not a huge amount in the UK. United States hospitalisations have remained relatively high for some time now, but I still believe a lot of this is not Omicron related. I think there's quite a big Delta hangover in the States, although we don't have a definitive split on that. Deaths, the United States has remained fairly high, unfortunately, over a long period of time now. Ireland, they're much lower. United Kingdom deaths are lower, very slight increase there, but I don't think we've seen any evidence that that's Omicron related at the moment. Canada, Australia, Japan, much lower. So just a bit of orientation data there, really, quite interesting. Now I want to look at patients in hospital, because this is the critical point. This is the critical point here. Actually, we'll just look at the COVID symptom tracker data just to show how pronounced this is. These are people remote reporting symptomatic infections. So basically, nearly 2 million people reporting symptomatic COVID infections in the UK, extrapolated to the whole population. That works out at 188,000 new cases in a 24-hour period. It's just huge. And we can see the numbers there. This is the prevalence, so we're up to, is that 200,000? It's just a tad under 200,000, isn't it?
Желаете смело, с дебетовой картой «Польза» и кэшбэком 10% на все. Банк Home Credit.
Oh, so this is how you beat this stage. I should take notes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! What is that?
It's a tool that lets you...
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. So today we are going to be talking about the Henley level system, but I want to back up a little bit. So sometimes you'll hear people in piano say, I have my grade 8 in piano, or my playing ability is at a grade 3 level. And when people say these things, they're almost always going to be referring to the Royal Conservatory of Music or the ABRSM, so the RCM or the ABRSM, as the major schools of music that classify all classical music into different grades. So as a self-taught piano student, or even just someone who takes lessons with a teacher but just wants a little bit more depth of information on what they're studying, I think it's really, really useful to have an understanding of grades in piano, because it gives you a sense of what music you can play, what's too difficult, and what's at your level, and so on and so on. So when the Henley level system was brought to my attention, I was really curious about it because the more information, the better. So I looked into it, and it's a great system, and I want to show you the ins and outs about it today and talk about why I think it's so useful, why you should care, all that good stuff. I also apologize for not remembering. It was one of you who commented and told me about this, and I completely forget who it was. I didn't mark it down. So if you're watching this video and you're the one who told me to look into the Henley system, leave a comment. I will give you credit for it. And anyway, let's get this video started. So let's start with the big question. Who is Henley? And why should we even care about the Henley system at all? In 1948, there was a German man named Gunther Henley who started a now really famous music publishing house. The publishing house is Henley. The whole aim of Henley was to publish music that was as close to the composer's original intention as possible, with minimal meddling and editing, and we call this urtext. You'd recognize these books by their cover right away. Like if you've been to any music bookstore, or if you're like even just like a casual collector of music, these Henley books they're like always in the, ubiquitous shade of blue, and they're really high quality. Their binding is excellent. Like even if you have a huge book like this, it kind of lays flat. The printing pages and the like ink and stuff is all super high quality. They also cost a premium, so that's something to take into consideration, but the editing is also really reliable. So Henley has basically always been a family business, and it's currently being run by Felix Henley, like always in the, It published music that was at the publishing house is Henley. The whole aim of Henley was to publish music that was as close to the composer's original intention as possible, with minimal meddling and editing, and we call this urtext. You'd recognize these books by their cover right away. Like if you've been to any music bookstore, or if you're like even just like a casual collector of music, these Henley books they're like always in the, ubiquitous shade of blue, and they're really high quality. Their binding is excellent. Like even if you have a huge book like this, it kind of lays flat. The printing pages and the like ink and stuff is all super high quality. They also cost a premium, so that's something to take into consideration, but the editing is also really reliable. So Henley has basically always been a family business, and it's currently being run by Felix Henley, who is the grandson of the original Gunther Henley. Okay, so that's Henley, the man himself, but what about the Henley level system? In 2010, they asked a man named Rolf Koenen to rank a huge amount of classical music by its level of difficulty. Now, Rolf himself is a renowned pianist, musician, and professor, and he also knew some Henley editors personally, so that, coupled with his qualifications, is likely why he was given this huge task. So the next part to that question is, why should I care? So put simply, it's just another way for musicians to find new and level-appropriate music to learn. It helps you get a sense of what constitutes easy, intermediate, and advanced music. If you're interested in sight reading, which you should be, everyone should sight read, it'll help you find easier pieces kind of a little bit below your level. And it can help you find more challenging, but not like too challenging, pieces that you can learn as stretch goals. So if you find yourself wondering what you should be learning, or you just feel like you're floating in a sea of random music choices, I think you'll find a lot of value out of the Henley level system. What I like about it is its ease of use. Basically, any important musical work between the Baroque and 20th century can be found in their library. And it gets incredibly specific. So instead of labeling an entire book at a certain level, like the Well-Tempered Clavier just kind of having like a blanket rating of, say, level 5, each individual prelude and fugue has its own level. The first prelude is level 2, but then the fugue is level 6, and so on. Where the Henley system differs from the RCM and ABRSM is that it only focuses and levels classical music. So if you're flipping through the RCM syllabus, you'll see graded classical pieces, but you'll also see really super modern pieces that are also graded. It's very well-rounded in that sense. But Henley focuses just on one thing, so music between the Baroque and early 20th century. And that laser-like focus I actually think is one of their greatest strengths in publishing. So now let's talk about how to use the Henley level system and how it all works. There are three broad categories of pieces. You have easy pieces, medium, and difficult. And within each of those categories, there are three separate levels. So level 1, 2, and 3 are all considered easy, 4, 5, 6 medium, and then 7, 8, 9 are considered difficult. And it actually even gets more specific than that. So if you search by level, you'll notice that there are kind of like half levels, like in between levels. So instead of just having pieces labeled level 1, level 2, level 3, you can actually have kind of like 1.5. 1/2 is like kind of somewhere between 1 and 2. And it has this for all of the difficulty levels. So let's just look at an example. So if you've explored Henley's level systems before, you might have noticed that I just clicked through level 1 and it's bringing me up with the first result is the notebook for Anna Magdalena Bach, which is a really good one. So I'm going to click that and we'll take a look at it. So it's going to show us every individual piece in the notebook for Anna Magdalena Bach. And we can see that some of them are at a level 1. And some of them are like level 1 to 2, and some are even higher. But they're all basically in a beginner range between 1 to 3. However, what you might have noticed is that Minuet in G major and G minor, which we've actually talked about on this channel, both of them, we've done tutorials, are rated level 1. But for any of you who have attempted these pieces, they are not beginner pieces. In fact, these are the kind of pieces that you would tackle at a grade 3 level if you were using the ABRSM or RCM systems. So they're not, you probably want a couple years under your belt before trying these. So this Henley level system doesn't take into account like kind of the musical